Welcome to the Herd's official YouTube channel. Make sure to like and subscribe. Don't forget to check out the Colin Cowherd podcast, all of our NFL instant reactions, and more football content.
And with that, Joel Klatt joins us off a wild, wild weekend. Oh, so, you know, it's interesting. I was, if you're going to be the first or second player in a draft, they always say, just go pro. Okay, it doesn't matter. I remember Matt Leinart years ago came back to college. He was a top 10 pick, and people said, if you're top 10, just go pro. You can get hurt. You can lose your rhythm. You may lose a great left tackle or a coach. I'm watching Mendoza for Indiana play. Big, strong, huge arm, great in crisis. Hard for me to not look at him and go, that's a Sunday player. To me, I feel the same way about Dante Moore, but Mendoza has such a big arm that when you were calling the game and watching it, did it feel like an NFL quarterback to you?
Yeah, I mean, listen, it wasn't perfect. He struggled at moments during that game. Their protection plan wasn't great, and Penn State did a great job defensively. That was the best defensive game Penn State has played maybe the entire season. They shut down Indiana's run game. It made it difficult on them. But Mendoza made some big throws when he needed to, and namely on that last drive. You know, that first play of that last drive, by the way, they were sacked. So they've got 87 yards to go. There's a minute 30 left, and they have got no timeouts. And the guy goes right down the field, big throw after big throw after big throw, and every one of them was leveraged properly and inaccurately in places where only his guy could get it. Now, granted, they made some incredible catches. The Becker catch was wild. Gus and I, we're losing our minds with that catch at the back of the end zone. But to your question, yes, Mendoza is a pro. There's no doubt about it. And for me, it's not even necessarily about like, well, where is your stock this year? To me, it's about, are you ready? Are you ready? Because what you see in the NFL, and I brought this up and I bring this up constantly with you. If you look at the guys that win Super Bowls on average in the last, 2.5 decades, if you go to their college career, they've all started over 30 games. Well, Mendoza started 2 years at Cal and now a year at Indiana. So he's highly experienced.
Yep.
I value that a lot more than even just these few games of tape that Ty Simpson has played at Alabama, who doesn't have that body of work from a starts perspective. Now, that doesn't mean that Mendoza is definitely going to be better than Ty Simpson. It means that those two decisions for Mendoza, whether he wants to come out or not, and Ty Simpson, are different because of their experience level and how much experience they have. I think that the NFL and the guys and teams and organizations that are really smart really value the guys that have a deep body of work.
By the way, Dante Moore, ugly game in Iowa, made a huge throw up the right sideline. The college football, 12-team college football bracket right now, you'd have Oregon against Notre Dame. How do you view Dante Moore? Now, they were missing all their receivers.
But like Simpson, he needs more time. Like if I'm Dante Moore, or if I was advising Dante Moore, hey, I would say go back to school. Now, what he did against Iowa was fantastic, and similar to Mendoza, it wasn't great all day, and then he gets into a 2-minute situation, and he plays his best football. And by the way, he did that without a lot of receivers. I think you were about to say that.
Oh, no, they were missing 4 of them. I think they missed 4 of them.
All of his best wide receivers, the tight end, Corey Moore, all these guys, and yet he was still able to orchestrate the drive in a tough environment, tough conditions against a very good team, and end up winning the game. There's a lot I love about Dante Moore, but I do think he needs more time as a quarterback. But that's a team that's getting better. Their defense is getting better. They showed up to Iowa, and they beat Iowa in an Iowa game. And that tells me a lot about the nature of their team, the physicality of their defense, their ability to run the football. They did a really great job in that game because Iowa was playing really well. It's a tough place to win, and to come up with that win showed me a lot.
So I think this is interesting. So when the USCs and the Oregons and UCLA, Washington joined the Big Ten, the big take was, oh, it's cold. Good luck. Well, I've seen USC beat Nebraska. I've seen Oregon beat Ohio State and Eugene and Penn State. I've seen Washington win at Maryland, and I've seen these Pac-12 teams go out to L.A., and I watched Penn State lose to UCLA and USC hammer Michigan. Do you think we can all take a deep breath now? Is that the whole West Coast team can't compete in the snow? When I watch these games, I think Iowa's going to lose in LA this weekend. I think Minnesota's going to lose to Oregon this weekend. I always thought it was overstated. Do you think that whole West Coast team playing Midwest won't work? I think it's working fine for West Coast teams.
Well, West Coast is different than South Beach. If you ask me, like, hey, Miami, like Miami is going to be in the cold weather, whether it's the Dolphins or the Canes, I'm like, they don't handle that very well. I don't think USC plays great on the road, even though they got a win against Nebraska.
But most college teams don't.
Most college teams don't. That's right. And I'm not. I would disagree with you in this. I still believe that this game at its core is about matchups. And for instance, Illinois was a bad matchup for USC. Why? Because they wanted to run the football right at that defense. And that's one of the areas of weakness for USC's defense. That was a big issue when they played Notre Dame. Even Michigan, even though they were able to win the game, Michigan was able to run the football well. Well, they're welcoming a team. Granted, it's at home where they've played better. What do you think Iowa is going to do? You see, this is a bad matchup for USC. The Iowa defense is specifically suited to take a team like USC and frustrate them because they won't be able to get chunk plays. They've got levels of defense. Tips and overthrows usually end up in the hands of the defender. That's how they turn the ball over, create short fields. And then they're going to run the absolute crap out of the football. And they're going to say, hey, USC, can you stop it? And they're going to run and then run and then run and then run some more. And I've got serious doubts that USC can hold up in a game like that. Serious doubts. I think Iowa wins this one outright. They're 6.5-point dogs. I think Iowa wins on the West Coast.
Wow.
Because of matchup. Again, that specificity of where Iowa wants to play, where they're strong, and where USC is weak.
So I was thinking of this. I was looking at the college football bracket. Texas A&M can win the SEC, not play Oklahoma, Ole Miss, Bama, or Georgia. They play a lot of teams that just fired their coach. You're think
saying regular season, right?
Regular season.
Play one of those teams in the champ game, or maybe even Texas if Texas was able to get into the champ game. To win the SEC, they will have to beat someone very good that earned their way into that position.
Okay, last year we watched this playoff, and we thought after we watched it, maybe Indiana shouldn't have been in.
No.
I mean, that was a terrible.
Give me this.
I'm saying, give me somebody now.
We got that from the atrocious commentary during the game, and they started throwing that. Guess when I didn't hear that? When Ohio State was drilling Tennessee, and that was even a bigger margin. So no. I don't know exactly where you were going with that. You got me all triggered on this. Indiana didn't deserve to be in last year. I will tell you this, though. Schedules in general need to be rethought within conferences. So I will agree with your point that you're trying to make on the underlying thing. Like, for instance, and for example, I believe that the better teams in the conference, or the teams that finished high in the standings one year, should have to play the tougher conference schedules the next year.
Agree.
In order to drive more parity, in order to drive more fairness. That's what the NFL does, and that's what we should do within conference, versus leaving it up to chance. I understand that you got to retain some rivalries, and there are games that are always going to be on the schedule, and that's fine. Just like the NFL, we always play 2 division games, but there's those few matchups, and they're just little tipping point matchups where you're going to play a first place schedule in the NFL. Well, I think we should have our version in college football of a first place schedule, where if you win the conference like Oregon did last year in the Big Ten, that you would have to then go and play a more difficult slate of games in the Big Ten the next year. Yeah. And if you finish last, like whoever finished last this year, I don't know who did, Northwestern or Rutgers or someone along those lines, you would get an easier draw, and you wouldn't have to go and beat your head against the wall facing like Indiana and Ohio State and Michigan and Oregon all in one year. So your premise, I think, is correct.
Yeah. By the way, that USC Notre Dame game, everybody shed tears when I suggested maybe it's not the greatest thing for USC. If USC beats Iowa this week, and it'd be a good game. I agree with you. I like USC close, but it's a good game. If they did not play Notre Dame this year, USC didn't play them. They could go to Oregon. If they were competitive, they'd have a loss to Illinois and Oregon. They'd make the playoff. It's that Notre Dame game.
This is the problem with an at-large playoff. This is the problem when it's not tied to a defined path or automatic berths. You know, when we're in a beauty pageant, it's going to encourage teams like Notre Dame or USC or any team to not schedule difficult non-conference games. That's a problem in college football, which, by the way, I do think that one of the reasons why Texas is being ranked so high as they are now by the committee is that the committee is trying to give them the benefit of the doubt that they went out and played Ohio State.
Totally agree.
And they're trying to not knock them or hold that against them so that they can encourage others to do the same. You know, there's been it's discussed. I don't know how much traction it's gotten, but Colin, they have discussed at some level behind closed doors having somewhat of a point system in college football to go along with the committee and maybe even overtake the committee. And it would go as follows. Like, let's just say Texas and Ohio State play this year and they're both top 5 teams and now they're both top 10 teams still here late into November. To go and play that game, and even if you went on the road and lost, you would get 5 points in a PowerPoint structure. Meanwhile, if you were to schedule a game like, let's say Texas didn't want to play Ohio State and they wanted to play like, I don't know, UT, San Antonio or some lower level to, Louisiana Tech Monroe, whatever it is, even if they won that game at home in the non-conference, they would get 0 points. So in a point structure type of system, as we're trying to compete for the college football playoff, we would have a point system that rewarded teams for going and playing tough non-conference games versus scheduling a cupcake in their home stadium. I think that's something interesting. I would love to vet that out a little bit more, but that's something that has been talked about in college football.
All right, you have Michigan Northwestern at Wrigley this weekend. Where are you with Michigan right now? The coach, the quarterback's super talented. They've got some receivers and the quarterback I like. But where are we? When legends leave, when Chip Kelly left Oregon, we liked Mark Helfrich. The longer he was there, it didn't work. The history tells you when a legend leaves, giving the job to a staff member that stays doesn't work. Remember, you go back to Miami.
Wait, I'm sorry. Is it not working for Ohio State and Ryan Day?
Well, no. Hold on.
Wait,
again,
is Ryan Day not the highest percentage winning coach in the history of college football?
Ryan Day was this hot guy that could have gotten a head job in a lot of places. Ryan Day was the buzz. He was like Ben Johnson. A lot of people talking about Ryan Day. NFL teams talked about Ryan Day. Right? Like the coordinator, who's this young kid? When you give the job to a staff member, generally when a legend leaves.
Calling Sharon Moore is just a staff member. He was the coordinator of the national championship. You think he couldn't have got a job? He was the interim head coach against Penn State in a top 5 matchup on the road. He beat Ohio State as the interim.
Do you feel good?
He was the head coach for those games.
But history says, even in the NFL, go get a successful head coach, Bama. Go get Nick Saban.
How'd that work for LSU with Brian Kelly?
Well, it wasn't.
How'd that work for Texas A&M with Jimbo Fisher?
Well, Jimbo. I was never a big Jimbo guy to begin with, so that wasn't a guy I would have hired and given $100 million to. I
disagree with you. I actually look around and I think Penn State is in a pickle right now because they're trying to create something out of thin air. Whereas what has worked so far. You've got 2 guys that were elite level coordinators that got jobs at places that had success before them and infrastructure to continue that success. Sorry. That's Kirby Smart at Georgia, and that's Dan Lanning at Oregon. Then you've got the guys that were great head coaches at a lot of places that won football games that can go into some place and replace and do well. That's Kalen DeBoer. That was Urban Meyer when he left from Utah and went to Florida and then ultimately Ohio State. And then you have the guys that were promoted from within. Dabo Swinney was promoted from within. You've got Lincoln Riley was promoted from within. You've got Sharon Moore was promoted from within. You've got Ryan Day was promoted. So like that works. And I don't think that you can just say one doesn't and one does. I personally believe that Michigan, they're the youngest team in the Big Ten right now. They're 7-2. And they could put themselves in a position where if they were to beat Ohio State for the 5th straight time, they would go to the playoff. So there's no way you could categorize this as like not working. They're super young and they're really good.
No, I asked the question. I said, I didn't say it wasn't working. I said, where are you?
You're implying, though.
But they've been really inconsistent, like not competitive against USC. Week to week, not quite sure what I get. I think Underwood's unbelievable. Yeah,
that's fair. No, listen, I think that's fair, and I think that that's part and parcel to a young team and a young head coach. I would be really surprised if this doesn't trend in a really positive direction from this point moving forward.
All right. I mean, they're going to beat Northwestern.
Maybe. Northwestern's a good football team.
Well, they are.
You're going to be with us. Am I going to see you?
Well, listen.
You're going to be at Big Noon Kickoff.
That is being negotiated.
Negotiated. Does it have to do with the temperature outside?
Actually, Saturday is going to be nice and
that's what I saw. It's supposed to be like 62 or something like that.
Yeah, it's 62 here every day. Sometimes there's white stuff on the ground, but it's still 62. Good seeing you, buddy.
Great to see you as well, man. Have a good day.
Yeah, I'm not saying Michigan's not going to work. I'm saying in my lifetime, generally, go get a Chris Peterson. Go get a Brian Kelly. Go get a Nick Saban. Go get somebody that's succeeded. I mean, people bang on Lincoln Riley. He won 11 games in over 4 years at Oklahoma. He was a successful coach. You can do it with the Ryan Days. But you know what won natties was Urban Meyer at Florida, who'd been a head coach. Urban Meyer at Ohio State. Generally, I am for, at a top program with all the pressure, go get a big dog. Now, I think Brian Kelly was a weird fit. The Southern twang, it just didn't feel right. And I think he took it for the money. Right? They're arguing over money still at LSU with Brian Kelly. I think he took it for the paycheck. And that, okay, I've said once 6 is the first number in your age, people take jobs for paychecks. It's not about how it works going forward, or it's, hey, can I get a vacation place in Naples? People make those decisions all the time. But I'm not saying the Michigan thing's not going to work. But I've watched a couple of stinkers this year where I'm like, well, okay, well, the quarterback's a freshman. Maybe that's it. There are 3 great college basketball players this year that could go number 1 in most years. BYU has one of them. Duke, one of the Boozer kids, Carlos Boozer's son. He's got twins, but one of them's a stud. And then Darren Peterson at Kansas. Kansas isn't very good. That kid looks like Kobe. I mean, that kid is so good. He is magic. He can shoot. Kid at BYU, I don't know if he's a great perimeter player yet. Peterson, this kid at Kansas, wow. I mean, that kid is lightning quick, pull up, makes tough shots. I know a coach that coached against him. I've watched him, and he is something else. Like Darren Peterson at Kansas, just go watch him. That's what Kobe looked like at 19 years old, I would imagine. Wow. It's really interesting. The NIL in college football has changed 2 things. One of them is, Alabama doesn't have a lot of money. Texas Tech has a lot of money. Oregon has a lot of money. BYU, by the way, they got money. They can go buy players. Alabama doesn't have a lot of money. Ohio State was great before. They're great now. They have both. But it's interesting. Urban Meyer was talking about this. You're seeing all these new schools get considered for the college football playoff. Just ask yourself, why are they there? Because they can buy good players. So your history does matter. High school recruiting does matter. But Urban Meyer talked about it last week. Some of these schools you would have never thought 5 years ago they could be top 10 teams.
I think this is interesting, Colin. We've talked about out with the old. Clemson, LSU, Penn State, Florida State, Wolverines, they're kind of out. And then in, how about this? IU, Ole Miss, BYU, Texas Tech, Utah, Vandy, Georgia Tech, all with a shot for the college playoff. Parity in college football has never been like this.
Here's the other thing the NIL's done. Some of these quarterbacks, like Lenoris Sellers, who I would have no problem drafting if I was the Rams late first round and not playing for 2 years, he may just stay in college. He's like 20. So some of these college quarterbacks, Mendoza's got to come out. He's too good at Indiana. He's too good. He's going to be the first quarterback taken. Dante Moore, in my opinion, could come out, but Oregon's got a lot of money, and they may pay him $4 million to stay. So the NIL's done 2 things. It has given some off-brand, or what you would call smaller brand college football programs that have rich boosters a chance to compete and get into the playoff. That's the first thing. The second thing it's done is some of these college quarterbacks, and I think this is good for the kid and good for the NFL and good for college, it's keeping them in school longer. If Dante Moore stays in school at Oregon, he'll be the number 1 pick next year. So instead of going to and by the way, he'll get another 15 starts. But Mendoza's got to come out. But I've watched all these college quarterbacks. The only 3 to me are first rounders: Mendoza, Dante Moore, and the kid at South Carolina, who I don't think's close to ready to start. But if you're the Rams, you get your offensive tackle, you get this kid, you sit him for 2 years, he gets very interesting. But we went into the year thinking there were like 8 guys to draft. I think there are 2 guys I draft early in the first, 1 late. Everybody else feels second, third round. Hour 3 next. It's interesting. Through the years, when I've chatted with NFL draft directors or scouts or executives, it's interesting with quarterbacks how often they will point to a specific play or specific drive. I remember this with Josh Allen specifically, and say, we're going to draft him based on 2 throws he made at Wyoming. Like, he's raw, he makes a lot of mistakes, but he makes a couple of throws at Wyoming where people are like, I've never seen anything like that. Nobody in the NFL can make that throw. And so when I was watching Fernando Mendoza, Penn State knew he had to throw. He's on the road, major pass rush, and he's just throwing dart after dart after dart. Penn State knows he's throwing. Penn State's coverage all knows he's throwing the ball. He's not running the ball. You're not fooling anybody. And he is running and moving and throwing, and that drive alone to me is like, oh, that's the number 1 pick in the draft. Just big boy throws. And Penn State had all the momentum in that game, all of it. Indiana couldn't run. This drive, they had no choice but to throw. Even the game winner, he's throwing it back foot, jumping in the air, getting clobbered. And nothing against Ty Simpson at Bama, but I haven't seen that. I haven't seen a throw where I'm like, whoa, he's got a cleaner pocket. He's got higher rated teammates. I think, Alabama's Alabama. Ty Simpson's got a cleaner pocket. He probably got better elite quality receiving targets. And I'm not saying the schedule hasn't been tougher, and I'm not saying that Ty Simpson can't play. Ty Simpson spent 3 years at Bama as a backup, wasn't doing anything. And he's older, so he should be a little bit better. But when I look at those 2, Mendoza just jumps off the TV screen, and that final drive against Penn State was, wow, that is Sunday stuff. Here's Joel Klatt earlier on those 2 quarterbacks.
Mendoza started 2 years at Cal and now a year at Indiana. So he's highly experienced. I value that a lot more than even just these few games of tape that Ty Simpson has played at Alabama, who doesn't have that body of work from a starts perspective. Now, that doesn't mean that Mendoza is definitely going to be better than Ty Simpson. It means that those 2 decisions for Mendoza, whether he wants to come out or not, and Ty Simpson, are different because of their experience level and how much experience they have.
You have to be careful about getting sucked in to a big win. Like Johnny Manziel beat Bama at Bama, and everybody's like, oh, wow. It's like, well, what are the traits? Johnny Manziel's tiny. Mendoza's huge. Manziel's arm is okay. Mendoza's is huge. You can't be blown away by individual moments. You also have to go back to traits. But it's hard to watch that and not just see an NFL starting quarterback, very quickly. And by the way, 2 years at Cal and then 1 year at Indiana, he's not playing with 5-star guys. He's got good coaches at both places, but he's doing it with a lot of 3-star recruits. And I don't know, just on the road, have to throw, big pass rush, big, accurate, great throws, that only one person can catch him. I was blown away by it. But, these young quarterbacks, Eric Mangini was just on, we talked about, if you look at the 11 quarterbacks in this league, 25 or under. And if, let's say you're the GM and you had to make a decision on every one of them, do you give them the big contract today? Or do you just go back to the draft? It's hard. I mean, most of these guys can't stay healthy. Drake May's healthy. Caleb's healthy. Bo Nick's healthy. Everybody else been banged up. And here's Mangini on young quarterback play and extensions and when to know you got the right guy.
You've got to be able to see these guys do it consistently and continue to improve. But look at the list of guys who've gotten big money. Love, Tua, Herbert, Trevor, Purdy. The 49ers paying Purdy over $250 million. And now Mac Jones goes out there and he's playing at a really high level for 3% of what Purdy's making. So you make these decisions that then affect everything moving forward, because those guys have to be force multipliers, because you can't then go pay everybody else.
Yeah, it's just interesting with young quarterbacks. I mean, Jaden Daniels 10 months ago, no-brainer. 10 months ago, Caleb Williams, bordering on, oh, this isn't going to work at all. Okay, a lot changes. So it's just everybody now is out on Bo Nix. And I'm like, durable in college and the pros, excellent fourth quarter numbers, and wins a lot at Oregon and wins a lot in Denver. Be very careful about just now. Now, I said, if this continues for the next 7 weeks, like what if he's good this weekend against Kansas City? Last year, he had a passer rating at like 130 against the Chiefs in Spags. So the Bo Nix one's fascinating because I really like Bo Nix, but he's really regressed this year. So my take is let's see another 7-8 games. And if this is just what it is, then Denver with their second or third pick, maybe like, let's get some competition in the quarterback room. But you got to be careful. Undervalued is durability. Caleb Williams does not get hurt. Bo Nix does not get hurt. That is a skill. Don't kid yourself. Avoiding contact, knowing how to sack, get rid of the ball. Bo Nix does not take sacks. And you can say, oh, it's the O-line. He just doesn't take sacks. He gets rid of that thing fast. And for the record, that probably speaks to some of his deep ball issues. Probably could give it another beat. His thing is, I don't want to get sacked. I don't want negative plays, which, by the way, is the #1 improvement all year for Caleb Williams. It's not flashy plays. It's not accuracy. It's not. Caleb's #1 improvement. He's not taking negative plays. And that's Bo Nix's strength. Durable, doesn't take negative plays, gets rid of the ball, doesn't get sacked. I hope J-Mac noticed that even Eric Mangini noticed that you're paying Mac Jones 3% of Brock Purdy, and Mac looks good. Like, really good.
I can't reason with you on this topic, so I'm just going to stand down. You don't like Purdy. You have a beef with him because he can't hold a football in rain, because he's not 6'4" and strapping and built like an Adonis. Yeah. Well, I can't do anything about that, but I can just put his numbers up. If you want to put his career NFL numbers, and you don't get to cherry pick, let's pick these stats that make Caleb look better. Unequivocally, Brock Purdy has been a better NFL quarterback than Caleb Williams. Full stop. It's not even close.
For the record, Bo Nix's passer rating over this 7-game winning streak, it's not terrible. It's 87. Yeah. I mean, C.J. Stroud the last 2 years is bordering an 89. And so, I mean, it's just the Bo Nix negativity. And when I said it, I'm like, if I get this for another 7 weeks, maybe your third pick in the draft. Oh, well, hey, Denver's got a pretty stacked roster.
Woo!
And I like Bo Nix.